people are looking about just submitting ads and looking at how is it different when you go after an enterprise client and try to build a mobile business? I think you do the mobile business for Comcast.
That's right. So we've done work with large companies like Time Warner and Comcast. We work with them on their app launch strategy. We've also done our own apps that are the smaller apps that we started from the beginning. And the strategies are very different. I think the first thing when you're launching an app, you have to ask yourself, what is your measurement of success? The easiest one is to make revenue from it, but obviously it depends on what you're doing. If you already have revenue from your source, or you're trying to feed back to a channel, like back to the website, or you're trying to get people to buy more services like Comcast or Time Warner, they're using an app, not necessarily to make money, but to get you back to buy more video services, for example. But regardless of what your goal is, there is some difficult challenges. I like the way you said it, Chris, that I think there's the great idea and then the execution. The reality of app stores, whether it's a Comcast or a Warner or whether you're starting up a company, is there's over, just on the Apple App Store, there's 800,000. And you have to figure out how you're going to get somebody to get to that app. You can have a great idea. You can even have a great idea that everyone would really love, but they'll never even know about it. How are they going to get there? And the unfortunate part about it is a lot of it is, I kind of put it as like dirty politics and dirty. Some of the things haven't changed in the last 10 years. To get something out there, there's a lot of, 50% of it is figuring out the system and playing the system. And I'll give you an example. I like the way you said how things haven't changed. We've been in this industry, Apple's been in this industry for 10 years. And the very first app download stores, it was the old Nextel iDen download. And it was actually very different. Now the bar is very low, everybody can get in, but at the time there wasn't many apps out there. But even at the iDen store, when you went there, you'd look at the number one app that was at the top of the app store, and it was one dash contact app. And then you go back the next day, and then the next app on there is one dash contact app. So the next day there's 111. In other words, people are changing exactly. They're changing the name of their apps because they want to get to the top list. Because the dirty reality of even today is getting people to see your app and download it. It's cheesy things like that. That honestly, you do have to do. Whether you're a Comcast or a small company, you have to be focused on those things. So a lot of what we have done has been to kind of play with those pieces of it. 50% of it is how do you get into the new network? How do you get to the top of the list? And I'm sure we're going to have more questions about that in detail. But this is a long way of answering your question. As a large company, kind of circling back where we can work with the Comcast and the Time Warner, and what they're focused on is they're not focused on trying to make money. They're trying to focus on how do I get people, how do I change the way people watch television? How do I change the way people communicate? I talk over email, but and so I can share some of those things, some of the specifics. I don't want to take you on this question. Maybe if we get into some of those strategies, I'll share some of what we've done at a large company to get people to notice, recognize, and download an app, and then talk a little bit about those smaller companies, what you can do. Some of those cheesy things like putting one in front of you.
Great, thank you. Marketplace is a good friend of mine and also a neighbor, so I can take a little bit of negotiating. Funny thing, we go to South by Southwest every year. And he has an idea when we get on the plane and gives me a t-shirt that says, this is a great idea, 93 travels. By the time we land in Austin, he says, give the t-shirt back, my idea has changed. So even though he's been successful in many ventures, I wanted to ask him about some of hey, did you ever fail and what did you do, how did you handle that? I'll give you an example. Like we were going to an event and on 495 there's so much of traffic. He's sitting in the passenger seat and he pulls out his app and says that, I got this cool app called Traffic. I think that's what it was called, and there's traffic for 3 miles ahead of me. So it's big deal. Why do I need to know?
My name is Shiva, and I hope you guys are able to enjoy after that event like Nanga and other stacks. I wanted to introduce the mobile panel and the moderator Sachi and the other panelists Sachi. And I wanted to take like 1 minute and explain about this mobile panel. And this panel is called a fun panel because it's various different guys and they're all basic guys. Yeah, these are all fun guys. They enjoy making mobiles and they're also very successful in doing it. So the topic of the panel is how do you successfully make mobile app? It's just not making the app, but how do you succeed in making an app and delivering it, and end of the day monetization? How do you make money out of it? And one of the things we picked up people for this panel from different components of mobile development. It's just not making an app, it's more than that. So I don't want to take more time on that. Sachi is going to do. And one big thing is, please ask a lot of questions. Sachi is very happy with more questions. If you have more questions, he'll be very, very happy. And another area is, we have open our office hours in that room behind the conference area. And there is sheets outside in the registration area for panels. If anybody have a question on a particular panel speaker or other panels or other talks, you guys can go and have a chat with them. So thank you all, and I introduce Sachi now.
Thank you very much, Shiva. Is everybody having fun at DevFestDC? Yeah. I'm going to have fun at this panel because I have so many questions about mobile apps. It's a dream for me, and hopefully they'll answer these questions. So let's start off with, I'm going to ask all the panelists to introduce themselves for 1.5 minutes. And why don't you go ahead, Chris?
Hello, I'm Chris Schroeder, CEO, co-founder of App47. Real quick, App47, we provide mobile application management, both in the enterprise as well as consumer-facing mobile applications. We help you securely deploy, capture crash logs, understand analytics, what users are doing inside of it, as well as how is it performing from the end user experience. So we do all that in a cloud-based platform, easy to sign up. You can sign up today and get started right away.
Hi, I'm Alec Walker. I'm Vice President Services at NCO. We're based in Tysonsville, Virginia. We're about a 12-year-old company. I've been with the company about 11 years. And we specialize in building applications for mobile and connected devices. So that includes iPhone, Android devices, as well as set-top boxes, things you can see on your TV. And our customers are typically large service providers. I do a lot of my work with cable operators, so a lot of my customers will have towards talking about cable operators. But we also have our own products and services, so we can talk as well about app stores.
I am Barbara Pender, co-founder of Hitch Rides. It's a taxi dispatching service. That's one of my companies. I represent the failure in the group, so that's why I have a private startup. Also previously I found Mobile, which builds mobile apps for app. We have a little over 50 apps. We're a 50 plus company, 50 people. Some more. We have a design shop in Argentina, and a shop in India, and product shop here. We love mobile, and we're one of the first guys out there just to do mobile. So we love Android. Android was our first app. And there was
Did he say he loves Android?
I love Switzerland, I guess. The first app we built was on Android platform. There were no devices on the market. We just had the SDK and we built it, and then the devices came and we tested it. And so we're happy to be part of the mobile revolution.
Just a small note, I know the real deal behind these guys, so let them give their official pitch now. Go ahead.
All right, I'm Jonathan Altman. I don't know if my domain name didn't go up. It's async.io is actually my domain. I'm actually about 2 months into my mobile startup. I'm putting together a mobile application that's intended to help people make more intelligent decisions about recycling. Previous to that, I was one of the founding engineers and the architect for market-leading travel booking website particularly in the corporate travel market. Have a bit of experience taking a product from start all the way to number 1, number 2 market position, and I'm trying to move that into mobile.
Hi, I'm Manish Gandhi. I'm the founder and CEO of iGate. Before Highly, I had a company, Clickable, which simplified search engine marketing. It recently got sold to Syncapps and beyond. So what does Highly do? So at Highly, what we basically focus on one thing, getting leads and customers for your business. That's all. And what we do is we do that using three types of campaigns. There are campaigns to attract people to your brand. So there are campaigns, they're fun games, apps, they're like sweepstakes, photo contests, anything that can actually just attract attention to your brand. Second, what we do is we actually can go ahead and engage them in their thought leadership and establish you as a thought leader. So for example, you can have campaigns to publish ebooks, white papers, webinars, so you can do that all on your platform. And third, you can actually convert those people that you have into customers by using an email nurturing campaign from us, or you can do simple deals and coupon kind of apps to actually convert. So at the end of it, what you have is actually a funnel that converts all the way from attracting attention to your brand to actually converting.
Excellent. Thank you very much. How many of you here build mobile apps? Good, almost a little bit less than half the room. How many of you are looking for developers to build apps for your company? How many of you use mobile apps? Wow, that's a big market right here for me. This is good. I mean, communities like this, one of the biggest things that we can do is share success stories. We come here because we are hoping to be mentored by successful people like them to say like, hey, what did you do to succeed? What are you looking at for the future? And I think Tony Dodge had a great talk in his keynote where he was talking about how mobile apps are growing and some of the GPS applications and everything else. So I want to start, because I know the real need about these guys, I want to start with my questions and then open it up. Hopefully, if my questions are bad, you can actually follow up with the audience time. But you've been successful in, I think, at least 3 successful companies. And when people here, or people such as myself, are thinking about, I have this great app idea, how should I think about structuring the company? How do I start structuring myself or my company? I think Zui must have mentioned about lean startups. So, as a follow-up to that, specifically about mobile apps, what do you think people should be looking at structuring?
Well, there's a couple things to think about as you're thinking about, I've got an idea, and how do I go from an idea to a company, and what's interesting about that. And so the first thought I'll leave with you or give you is, ideas are cheap, execution is really expensive. So I can't tell you how many people I've talked to, hey, I got this great idea, and it is a great idea, but the reality of taking it from that to something that produces revenue and fulfills what you're trying to achieve is usually a lot more expensive than the thought of the idea. So there's a big gap between that idea and the realization of that idea. Particularly when it comes to mobile apps, one thing I'll say that as far as a trend I've seen, mobile apps, the idea that you're going to build a mobile app and the mobile app is the product is definitely waning and potentially sort of in the past. There are fewer of those. Even a game, which you might think is, well, that's a mobile app, that stands on its own. It's not anymore. You want interactive players. I want to be able to take turns in playing, things that are facilitated on the iOS platform by Game Center as an example. So you got to think of it as a service that may integrate into a social platform or may integrate with other players that are in that game as an example. So my point there is that it's not just a mobile app anymore. It's a back end, it's a mobile app, it's a front end. It's the way that the idea needs to be thought out. Don't think about it as just a mobile app. And probably the last thing I'll leave you, so I'm not taking up all the time, is actually 2 points. I'll leave you with 2 more points. One is patterns. Watch the patterns. This is something that I try to do a lot of. And App 47 is a good example of this. So App 47 isn't doing anything really new. We do systems management, which by the way has been around for many, many years. It's what I've always done in my career. And it's way longer than I care to think about it. You witness that by the gray hairs in my head. But that's what we do, is we do systems management for mobile apps. The only thing that's new is mobile apps. But we're doing the same thing that we've done 20 years ago, that I did 20 years ago. How do you deploy it? How do you secure it? How do you configure it? And how do you understand its performance? I was doing that for mainframe and desktop applications 20 years ago. It's what I'm doing today for mobile lapse. So there's nothing new, but there's a pattern emerging. The pattern is we find new technology, we all enjoy it or get wrapped around the new technology, we deploy it out there, and then we realize I have no way to manage it. And so that's the pattern that we recognize, and that's why we created App 47. So my point is, as more things change and more they stay the same, recognize the patterns, see what's going, where the puck is going, not where it's at, and go there. And the last one is to kind of question yourself as you're sitting down thinking through, I got this idea, what should I do about it? The only real validation point that's out there, regardless of how many people you talk to, how many VCs you talk to, how many angel investors you talk to, how many friends you talk to, how many family members you talk to, the only real validation is a customer. I've been through this a number of times and have sort of learned the hard way, painfully. Your friends, your family, people that you meet at an event like this, they're going to tell you you have a great idea. That's going to go huge. I can see it. Beautiful. I can't believe you're not doing that now. Go for it, man. The only real validation is the customer. So, yes, share your ideas, get feedback. That's not the issue, but focus on that. The only real validation is that customer. So focus on that. Get that early. Get that feedback early, and that will prove out the idea of what you're trying to do faster than chatting with your friends and family and colleagues at events like this. So hopefully that's a little helpful, but that's a short synopsis of.
Twitter was a huge in growth and stuff. So we bounced around ideas on how to solve some problems using those two platforms. And the idea was that we can crowdsource the traffic patterns by people driving around with their mobile phones. They're stuck in traffic. They can hit one button and let the rest of the world know that they're stuck in traffic. So that was the brilliant idea. When we started, we built the product. We got a lot of press for that, New York Times and all these things, because back then the iOS 3 came out and like navigation apps were huge. Just like everybody wanted to report on that and stuff. So we got a lot of buzz, but nobody paid anything, and I was running out of money. So we actually had to pivot at that point. And also, well, actually, the big sort of nail in the coffin was Google announced that they do global traffic now. So you can get that red, yellow, green lines, like basically a month after like iOS 3 came out. And like, okay, I don't have that much funding. I used the fail fast method, and I pivoted, and we basically turned the company into a services company, sort of like selling picks and shovels to the, in the miners back when they were doing the gold rush and stuff. So and that's actually worked out very well. We grew from a team of 3 to now like a team of 50, and we're building a lot of really cool apps and the latest platforms and stuff. So it wasn't a home run, but it's pretty good. I can sustain it, and since then I've been trying out various ideas.
Why are you hanging around in all the places where taxi drivers hang around nowadays?
Yeah, so that's the new startup. We started in the beginning of the year with a friend of mine, David Miller. He's the CEO of the company. It's called Pitch Rides. We're actually beta testing right now in the field. It's actually using similar technology that we built for the traffic app. It's using maps and location to basically make it dead simple to find taxis. You see it on your map, all the nearest taxis. You click a button, they come and pick you up, and then you just pay with credit cards, all the payments, basically. So that's the idea, and it's hard. I mean, I think sort of the moral of the story is, and then I actually, before I started this, there were a couple other startups that I did for the last 2 years. They didn't do well as well. It takes time. Startups in general are hard, and mobile startups are even harder to do, just because I think they're relatively, you have to have a better user experience, more shinier products and stuff. The market dynamics are hard. Like you can pick any category, go into the App Store now, and you'll easily find 5 other people trying to do the same thing. So you're competing against a lot of people. So you need resources if you're going to compete there. And the business models are tough. You know, if you're used to making $20 writing books or something like that, now you have to give it away for $1 or something. So you need a lot more customers and all that. So it's challenging, and there are also like solutions that you can use to at least minimize some risks. So there are some things you can control and some things you can't control. So like it's hard to control if Apple will feature your product or not. I mean you can try to stack the deck by like having really innovative design and all that, but it's that's just luck.
Even your idea. They're also going to give you feedback. Here's what I don't understand. They'll tell you because they want to help you. Those people want to help you. They will give you all that feedback. You want to nurture them. You also do need to handle them as they're going forward. I wrote a quote, and Chris has his iPad up for things. I wrote it on the palm of my hand to make sure I remembered, which was, if you're not paying for it, you're the product. And I'm going to throw that out as kind of a provocative quote, because I'm actually coming from a different way. But it's a question of, as you move, those early adopters who supported you so well, they're also the ones who get most spurned. They will be the ones who will be most upset if they get a raw deal later. And how do you take care of them? How do you avoid that if you're not paying for the product sort of thing? Or how do you handle that transition well? And some of that has to do with business models. One of the things that I'm looking at right now, I mentioned I'm looking at an app to help people make better decisions about recycling. And I'm very deeply looking at what my revenue models are because I don't want to charge for the application. I don't believe that people will actually pay to contribute this information, but I don't want them to be the product either. So how can you be imaginative about your revenue streams so that you can make money, you can keep the cost as low as you can? In my particular case, I believe there are third parties who are not necessarily the end user of the application who would find it worthwhile to pay for it. One of the really big ones that especially the end user are in-app purchases. You get a nice low barrier, but you build the opportunity in the back, and when people are hooked in, they find reasons that they want to keep the money.
Thank you. So Manish, I'm going to put you on the spot and say, practice what you preach. So I've built an app. Now, how do I go through the steps of awareness, engagement, and conversion?
Okay. So I think the one big thing that you have to think about is distribution is really hard. To promote someone is really hard. To get all the people to download your things is really hard. So I think there are three things that I want us to think about. One is, and this happens at the early stage of when you're thinking of a mobile app. First is you have to realize that every customer needs to be a marketer for you. If you try to buy your way into distribution, that may not work. If you do the dirty tricks way, that may not work. So the only guarantee that you have, or the only essence that you have, is if you can make every customer of yours a marketer. Again, Don's example of Instagram. Really, what happened is every time someone shared the photographs, they basically talked about you. They basically spread the word. Second is